the 100th episode of Monday Movie Pickup. Well, hey everyone! So, this is, of course, the movie room. You're used to it by now, you've seen it in a lot of the Monday movie pickups. We did build this room, I believe, almost 2 years ago now. I mean, it's getting to that point where it's been around 2 years. But before then, I used to have the shelf upstairs behind the couch, and even before then, I had shelves in my bedroom at my parents' house to collect all of this. Of course, the collection was a lot smaller back then. I think one of the first videos I ever posted on YouTube had a collection that only took up one shelf of a bookshelf that I had, and it would sit in the background of the videos. Since then, the collection has only grown more in size, and over the years, it's gone from it's doubled in size, and then it tripled in size in 1 year, and then it quadrupled in size in 1 year. And I think last year, even though I was going to try to hold back, I may have bought more movies than ever before. Finishing off a lot of collections that I've been wanting to do for a long time, like collecting a lot of the Oscar-winning films, collecting some director filmographies, finishing up a lot of the animation. I almost got every DreamWorks movie. I finished off Pixar, Disney. Just a lot of collections are going on. As physical media dies out, it's lucky that there's a lot of smaller stores that have taken up the Blu-ray mantle. There's stuff like Shout Factory, Arrow Video, Kino, so there's always going to be a way to get classic films on Blu-ray, and if new films are released and studios start to give up on the format, there will be someone in the future that will get the rights and release some kind of Blu-ray for the film. Granted, I realize that the world is going digital, things are going to streaming, and eventually there may not be any Blu-rays at all. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy collecting what I have. I consider Blu-ray to be like records. The reason a lot of people get vinyl is because it's got a unique sound when compared to CD or to, iTunes. The stuff that people use nowadays. Streaming, Spotify, everything like that. But vinyl has a much more unique sound, and I feel that way about Blu-ray too. For me, it's the best picture and sound for the film when it's released on home video, and streaming still doesn't compare. Of course, things will eventually change. I'm sure streaming will catch up and the 4K will be crystal clear with no issues with the internet, nothing like that. But as of now, Blu-ray to me is still the best way to go if you're a film lover. So I have a lot of movies here. I've been doing Monday Movie Pickup for almost 4 or 5 years, I believe. I think I started this back in 2017, if I'm incorrect. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to go back to the first video to see when I uploaded it, but at this point, I've been doing many episodes. I've been showing you what I've been buying weekly, and now I figured this would be the best time to really dive into every single movie I own. On the Daily Cinephile, I've gone into some of the ways I go about collecting. I've talked about different Blu-rays I own, some rare stuff, some different movies that I enjoyed seeing in theaters, or different collections that I've completed. But I've never actually done a deep dive into absolutely everything I own. I've tried to catalog it the best I can. I've had Excel, IMDb. Right now, I think I'm going to start using Letterboxd. I liked using the Excel spreadsheet that I made to get unique versions of the film that are available through different studios. Sometimes I own multiple copies of the same film depending on what special features are available on each individual release. But I find that Letterboxd might be an easier way to do it just because they have a function now where if you look up different lists or directors, you can actually put a filter on there to filter out the ones that you own, or filter the ones that you do own, so you can look through a director's filmography and see which films you own from his catalog for viewing purposes, but also for shopping purposes. For instance, right now I'm trying to work on getting all the John Carpenter films, and sure, I can make a wish list, I can find a bunch of the films that have been released on Shout Factory, but for the most part, it's still pretty tough to figure out absolutely every movie he made unless you go on Letterboxd. So if you can combine the two, Letterboxd and the amount of films that you've collected, it's the easiest way to really figure out how to catalog every one of a director's film releases. I'm going to start over here, make my way around. I don't know how long this video will turn out, but I'm really going to try to tell you absolutely everything I own. All the videos, this is the angle you usually see. I will put some different things in the background. And it usually is a big mess in here. There's usually tripods, lights all over the place. For the most part, this is not a room that's used for, it's not a fancy library. For the most part, it's used as storage for film equipment, and then I'll set it up for doing videos. However, it also does double as a viewing room because I do have a TV in here now, and we have a foldable chair that can go in here, and it's really easy to put in and out, so that way I can watch some stuff on the television down here, and I find that this is a bit of a cozy area to do so. I do have these lights up above, which I bought these fluorescent lights at a thrift store for, I believe, $5 each. I just screwed them up there, and it works well. But there's this light bulb here, which I always turn on as well, but really it's just to add extra light. It's kind of pointless at this point because it was only ever put in there when we originally were remodeling this house, so this light was very quickly put into this back corner, which was never officially a room. There was really no plans with anything here. Who knows, in the future I might end up turning into a sauna. That's what my dad originally wanted. He wanted to put a sauna in here, so that might still happen. And I should maybe finish painting these, because really this was done as, a last second effort. When my now wife was moving into the home, I wanted to move all the movies downstairs, and I made these shelves pretty quickly just so I could get everything down here. I didn't really take the time to paint them, but I did use some of the wood from the shelf upstairs, and this is actually stained, but it turned out black, which is pretty unfortunate. I didn't really want it to look that way, but hey, there's something for everyone to know out there. If you buy stain, make sure you test it on the wood and on the specific type of wood you're going to be using to see how it's going to come out for the color. But anyway, I do want to finish painting these, maybe just paint everything black, because as you can see over here, these are all new shelves, and none of these were painted. It's a pretty simple design. It's just 1x4. So I used the shortest piece I can think of, just so shortest in width anyway, so I can have more shelves overall. I make the shelves spaced out for the size of a VHS tape. I don't really have a good system for changing them around, and I don't really want to mess with them at this point. If there's a VHS that needs to be fit on the shelf, I will do so. And of course, it's for the clamshell VHSs, as you can see down there, how they perfectly fit in those shelves. However, eventually I may not even have any more clamshell VHSs. I've had so many of them upgraded at this point. There's very few in the collection that still are clamshells, but eventually I may be able to get DVD upgrades and Blu-ray upgrades of all those films, so having the shelves be this wide may not be necessary anymore. And just so people know what goes on behind here, I can show you up here. There's like these two tubs that both are, yes, filled with film stuff. This one has a bunch of Betamax tapes that I hope to convert once the Betamax player is finally finished. I've been waiting a while for it to be repaired, and I'd love to convert all these Betamax tapes and hopefully get rid of them. It's all just recordings. They're not commercial Betamax tapes, but it would be cool to convert them all and maybe get rid of this just so I can save some space. So I don't really have a need to keep all these Betamax tapes. I'm hoping it's TV recordings. I got them from a family member's father, and I have no idea what's on any of the tapes. And then in this one is a bunch of old 8mm tapes. A bunch of them I've already converted. They're from my grandma's house, and a lot of them are just family videos. So those are all finished, and they just sit in there, and I haven't really figured out what to do with them. Because they're family videos. I do maybe want to eventually get a safe of some type to put all the family videos, the original sources of them all, VHS tape or 8mm, and just keep them all safe, just to preserve them. But I do have them all digitally converted. And then, this right here, what is this? I still don't really have a plan with this, but this is actually a prop from the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, which as you can see right there. This is a prairie dog. It's from the scene in the movie where there's a little prairie dog walking by and some gas came leaking through. The groundhog, or the prairie dog says to itself, "Oh shit." So a practical effect, and this was sold for an auction, so I decided to buy it, and I've really had nowhere to put it since then, so it just hangs up high for no one to be bothered by. And then of course there are two larger sets here that really have no space at all. This is the Essential Fellini set from Criterion. I did a recent video on this, but this is the Evil Dead collection, which when it comes together, there you go. This box is way wider than normal, so I don't really have a good spot to put that anywhere. It doesn't even fit up there with some of the other box sets I have. So for now, it will sit there until maybe someday we'll have a bigger movie room. Because back here, there's not a whole lot going on. There's just like, you know, switch box anyway, and some different Pez dispensers and things up there that are just kind of hiding all over the place. And then I have lights stashed back here, VHS tapes down there, other VHS tapes. So this is just a junk shelf for the most part. There's my Laserdisc, which is not out of the box because I don't really ever use the Laserdisc player. There's not a reason to have it set up for anything. And I just have like random movie memorabilia, which I don't collect too much of anymore, but there are things that will come with different Blu-ray sets, and there's other things that have sentimental value to me that I'll hold on to, like these glasses here. These are the 3D glasses from Deathly Hallows Part 2, the premiere night, which came shaped like Harry Potter's glasses, which in hindsight was a pretty stupid way to set up the glasses because you didn't really get the full, you know, eye coverage for the 3D film. And then here is my destroyed Criterion disc of Citizen Kane after Criterion did a boo-boo and they needed to do a replacement disc program. They asked that you destroy the disc and send an image of it. So I saved my broken disc. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And actually here is from the replacement disc. I got the replacement disc, and this is the coupon that came along with it, along with artwork from their film that they released, Stalker, which is available from Criterion Collection. So I'll have to use that eventually. And then over here, so this shelf used to be used for a random assortment of different Blu-rays, but now I have put all of my video games on there and some other random things, like all these Video Vision DVD cases from a closed video store, some CDs I have, which I don't collect CDs at all anymore. Same with cassettes. The only reason I'll ever think about getting a cassette again is like for reasons like this. Like this is the soundtrack on cassette, which is kind of cool. That's really it though. There's really no reason. Cassette, there's no point. Luckily I have a player that actually can do cassette, but still, no reason to have any of those. And then what are these? These are the VHS cleaners, and these are all brand new. I bought those from a store. They were on clearance. I believe these are like, yeah, $1 each. And I bought a bunch of them. I bought almost all of them because I figured, well, if I have this really nice working Panasonic VHS player that we've had since we were kids, and it's the only VHS player that's never broke on me, well, I might as well buy as many cleaners as I can. So, you know, I can keep using them in the future in case it ever needs a cleanup. Which, if you know anything about VHS players, they need cleanups often. I've done videos before about my video game collection. I'm not the biggest gamer on the planet. I do love my Nintendo Switch. That's probably the game that, the series, or I mean that's the game system that I've been using the most lately and have really been keeping up with all the games. I've played probably all of those, and there's even more upstairs that I've been playing. I do love the Genesis, though, and this is a system I would like to buy more of. There's Aladdin, and then NBA Jam Tournament. This is the Pink Panther game, which was $5 at a thrift store. I know there's people online who will say that I probably paid too much for it. And then Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which are all games that I played before, either originally on the Genesis or on the Xbox release of Sonic games, which I have right here. And I do have a lot of Xbox games. That was probably another system I played a ton as a kid, and I got a ton of games for. But even still, this collection is pretty minuscule compared to ones I've seen before. I never got into the Xbox 360, really. I got it very late after the Xbox One had already been released. I only really got the Halo games so I could catch up on, you know, the ones that I'd missed. And even then, I don't own them all. I only own Halo 3, the Halo re-release of the first game, which at this point is now 20 years old. So this was when it was 10 years old. That's pretty wild. And then a bunch of Nintendo games. Nintendo games are, you know, still one of my favorite systems in general. This is a system I would like to get more games of, but again, it's just, it's not really in the cards at the moment. There's even Super Nintendo games there. Aladdin and the Lion King, which I've gotten Super Nintendo pretty recently, so that system's still growing, and then Atari, which I have a lot of Atari games. I'd like to get more of these too, because these are quick, they're fun, and they're all still pretty cheap in the area. But anyway, that's my video games, and then I have to start going through everything else I own. So up here, what are these? These are 16mm films, and they're not really much to look at. These are just cheap ones that they would probably sell at any store back in the day for those who bought a 16mm projector. I own a 16mm projector, and these tapes came with it. All I know is that that one titled Chimp the Cowboy there is about a cowboy, or it's a literal chimp riding on a horse, and he smokes at one point, so I'm sure PETA didn't exist back then, because I didn't hear any outcry about that random 16mm tape. This Titanic box set's pretty cool. Inside are the gold versions of the Titanic VHSs, and it's the widescreen edition. So it's a special edition box set. I saw it at a thrift store. I thought it was pretty cool, but I don't really get VHS tapes anymore. I try to avoid them at all costs. This is the Bond 50th anniversary set. This was the one that was released around the time Skyfall was released, and there's actually a slot that was available inside there to put Skyfall in once it was released on Blu-ray, but it did not originally have Skyfall in the collection. In fact, I snuck it up here, but this is the disc that was inside the set, and it would tell you that it was currently in theaters. It's in theaters fall 2012. Look for it on Blu-ray and DVD in 2013. So you would slip that out, and you would put Skyfall in the set, which is exactly what I did. And so now there's every Bond film from Dr. No to Skyfall. And then recently, I did a review of Spectre, so I do also own Spectre, which is hiding right here. So there you go, Spectre. And of course I also own the other film that is not from the Eon series. This is Sean Connery's Never Say Never Again. Of course this is an import of the film, because for some reason this film, this Blu-ray went for very high prices at the time I was buying it, so I got an import of it. It was region free, much cheaper. And there is also the Casino Royale film that was made in 1967, which is like a comedic Bond film made before Dr. No, or actually that's a lie, that it was not made before Dr. No, but it was made around the same time they were making the Sean Connery ones, but it was a comedic film. It wasn't really, it's not a James Bond film really at all, but it is released on Blu-ray, and I haven't had that one. I've never seen that. That's the only one I haven't seen. I did see No Time to Die, I just don't own the film yet. Up here is Harry Potter Hogwarts Collection. Very cool set. Has every special feature that the series ever had, from the DVDs to the Blu-rays. And as of now, it is slightly outdated because there is now a new release for the 20th anniversary of the Sorcerer's Stone that has a new special feature, and from what people have told me, it's called Magical Movie Mode, and it really sucks. There's no point, so I do not plan to get that disc unless I find it for very cheap in the future, but I will be holding on to this box set. And then there's the 10 Commandments. I have gone on and on about how awful the packaging is on that Blu-ray set, and unfortunately the only way to keep the films is in this packaging itself. That's, by the way, these box sets are up here only because this is the only way I can access the films. They don't come with like a smaller case or jewel case that I can put amongst the rest of the shelves. They only come in these big old box sets. Even the 10 Commandments, even though there's only 2 films in there, the silent version and the classic that everyone watches on TV, the 1956 version. For some reason, you have to have these big boxes in order to access any of these films, so I always hate that. I like when, for instance, there's a big box set I own of Casablanca, but you also have Casablanca right here, which you can just put on the shelf. Much more easier. And I do have all those box sets kind of snuck back there. You can see the Kubrick box set. Yeah, you can see the Wizard of Oz box set, I Am Legend, and that white box is the Casablanca set. And then there is this Ingmar Bergman's box set as well. This is from Criterion Collection and contains a bunch of, if not all, Ingmar Bergman sets. I was told it's not every Ingmar Bergman set or film, but it's pretty close. And then I don't really collect vinyl, but I do have a few of the Electric Light Orchestra albums here, which is the only band that I'm probably planning on getting a bunch of vinyls of, because a vinyl collection on top of a Blu-ray collection would take up a lot of room. And Electric Light Orchestra is my favorite band of all time, so it's the only band I can think of that would be worth getting every album on vinyl. Here's my big Godzilla set, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about from the Criterion collection. These discs will start slipping through the packaging, because if I show you real quick, it was so pretty cool. It's a pretty cool spread of all the films. Nice write-ups about every single movie. But once you get to the back, this is where the discs would go. However, the glue was failing and they would start to slide through, which is annoying. I mean, you had to reach in there and grab the discs, but on top of it, the glue was getting stuck onto the disc itself. So that's not good. You don't want that. So the second I saw that happening, I put every disc inside of a quick paper case right there. And then I have the Guillermo del Toro set, which has Kronos, The Devil's Backbone, and Pan's Labyrinth. It's a case that I'm not very happy with. I did a top 10 worst packaging list on YouTube, and this set made it. But Criterion does a lot of weird packaging that I'm not a fan of. Just stick to the jewel cases. The jewel cases are the best. Of course, these are all my Criterion films for the most part. Some of them are scattered elsewhere depending on if I am collecting the director's filmography or if they won the Oscar for Best Picture, then they'll be found down here. But as you can see, we have Seven Samurai, Sallow, The Red Shoes, Brazil, Yojimbo, Carnival of Souls, Rushmore, Chasing Amy, the DVD version since it was never released on Blu-ray, The Blob, Do the Right Thing, Royal Tenenbaums, Slacker, Young Mr. Lincoln, Dazed and Confused, Benjamin Button, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, My Dinner with Andre, Stagecoach, Blowout, Paths of Glory, The Great Dictator, The Killing, 12 Angry Men, Anatomy of a Murder, The Game, It's a Mad, Mad World, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Dressed to Kill, Moonrise Kingdom, The Graduate, Blood Simple, Boyhood, Punch Drunk Love, His Girl Friday, Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, The Breakfast Club, Night of the Living Dead, The Virgin Suicides, The Princess Bride, Some Like It Hot, Detour, The Jackie Chan Collection, The Police Story 1 and 2, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Bruce Lee Collection, which has The Big Boss, Fists of Fury, The Way of the Dragon, and Game of Death. Enter the Dragons in here as well. I also have all these releases that Shout Factory did a couple years ago, which can be found down here. Fist of Fury, The Big Boss, Way of the Dragon, and Game of Death, which there are differences in the special features and versions of the films between the Shout Factory versions and the Criterion versions. War of the Worlds, Memories of a Murder, Bringing Up Baby, and The Incredible Shrinking Man. We have every film that has ever won Best Picture. Of course, I still need to get a few of them. I don't have a complete collection as of yet. And right here it's missing, but it's upstairs. I do have West Side Story. But yeah, this is a pretty tough list to do. Some of these are still just DVDs, and some of these have very exclusive Blu-ray releases. Like here, this is an out-of-print Blu-ray that's very tough to get. I bought this from a different country for a much better price versus what it cost to get it shipped in the USA. And some of these are, of course, from the more boutique labels. Like this is from Shout Select. This is from Kino. We have this one from Twilight Time, which these ones were usually only made for a certain number of copies. Like sometimes they would only release about 3,000 of these. So these ones are always way higher in price because they're like all out of print. It's crazy that Hamlet still doesn't have a Blu-ray release for Criterion. Some of these are newer, like this is the first time Greatest Show on Earth was ever released on Blu-ray. Again, here's Kino. Here's a strange one, the Diamond Lux edition of Ben-Hur. Diamond Lux was a very short-lived Blu-ray series that Warner Brothers did, and they all go for higher prices nowadays. And there also is, it's in the back here, it's snuck in there, but they didn't have room, if I can show you, they didn't have room for the bonus disc for the case inside, so they added the bonus disc to the outside of the case. They strapped it on there like with glue, because essentially these are the same special features and releases from the big box version they did a couple years prior. But for the Diamond Lux edition, I guess someone forgot to add a third slip inside the case to add the third disc of special features. So I guess if they wouldn't have included those special features, it wouldn't have been much of a Diamond Lux edition. This is a really cool Lawrence of Arabia set, which this is from the even bigger box set here. This is the biggest box set I have for like any movie, the 50th anniversary. There's a time I got all of these box sets for very cheap, and now they all are starting to go up in price. And I got them, I think, at the perfect time where they weren't quite out of print. They weren't they didn't feel as rare as they probably were. A lot of people were trying to resell them at the time, so I bought them all up. Things like Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, and Lawrence of Arabia. And now they all go for about double or even more than the price that I ever paid for them. And Warner Brothers is obsessed with doing these digibooks. I mean, any one of their movies have won Best Picture or are considered a classic or anything they've done a digibook for. And yeah, there's a lot of Criterion Collection discs snuck in here as well. I guess it's also just surprising that a lot of movies that have won Best Picture don't always have like the most fabulous of releases. Like, I mean, the Sapphire series I guess was pretty good. These were pretty early in Blu-ray's life. But like, for instance, this Crash Blu-ray, there's nothing really special about this release. The Departed is smashed into this triple feature set of Martin Scorsese films. The only reason I own it is because I don't own The Aviator on Blu-ray any other way. And same with The Departed. But I do own Goodfellas 2 other times. I'll get to that, but... and then this really cool giant box set for Argo. And of course Parasite on Criterion. So I don't have every single Best Picture winner yet, but I am working on it. And then of course the Paramount Presents line. This is like my new favorite exclusive set of films. Just a random grab bag of different Paramount movies that either have had lame Blu-ray releases in the past, or they've never had a Blu-ray release at all. For, you know, instance, Roman Holiday. First time it ever hit Blu-ray in the United States. And then here's this Almost Famous release, which includes both cuts of the film. For years, the only version of the film that was available on Blu-ray was the bootleg cut. So, very nice. And of course, here's the 100-year-old film, The Sheik, first time on Blu-ray. A lot of good releases there, and I will be continuing to buy some. In fact, I do have more up on the higher shelf for future videos. Here's my Shout Select series, which I also order by number, and if the film doesn't need to be moved to either the Best Picture category or to a filmmaker's category, like down here with the Robert Zemeckis films, here's Used Cars from the Shout Select series, they will go here, ordered by release date of the Blu-ray release date, and they're all numbered, very similar to Criterion. I don't have too many of these yet, but this collection's only growing more and more as the time goes on, and it is also a set of films that I really find fascinating. It's again, kind of like Paramount Presents, it's a random grab bag of films, but there are some really amazing movies in here, like Adaptation, Explorers, The Wizard, and the Abbott and Costello films. So, it's just very random. And then I have here, these are the John Carpenter films in order of release. I did buy a bunch of John Carpenter films recently, so I will give you a look at those later. But this is all I had at the moment. And then here's the Steven Spielberg films. Every single film released by Steven Spielberg. Of course, as of now, West Side Story is still in theaters with no Blu-ray release. I will be buying it as soon as it's available. It's crazy to think that Ready Player One was his last movie until West Side Story. Really had been quite a while since we had seen them on the big screen. Here are all of Hitchcock's films. I almost have every single Hitchcock movie. And I do have the Kino collection here of 5 silent films, but it is upstairs at the moment. And then there's this DVD set, which I found out after the fact are all bootlegs, since none of these films are actually in the public domain, but people have made the mistake for years, including Mill Creek. Very quickly, I'm starting to get almost every one of these on Blu-ray or on a different form of media, so this DVD set will become pointless soon enough. In fact, most of it's already pointless since it's actually a Legends of Horror set that has 20 Hitchcock films. You could get the 20 Hitchcock films on a separate DVD set, but since I already own them on this horror set because they just added those films to the horror set, I just kept the horror set, for the Hitchcock films, because then I did a double dip again with the 200 box set. Now, I'm doing a video series on these movies, but yeah, there's 200 movies in here, but 50 of them actually come from this box set. Well, actually, I should rephrase that. Only 30 of them do, because 20 of these were Hitchcock films that do not appear on this box set. While we're at it, I can actually show you. So I have these Criterion discs of some Alfred Hitchcock films, and it's because this is pretty much the highest quality I can watch these movies in, because the bootleg DVDs, which Young and Innocent is available on this Mill Creek set. It's available on many DVD sets, but it's usually in very bad quality. This Criterion Laserdisc is actually in better quality, and these movies, this one in particular, is not released on Blu-ray in the United States. I do own a few Laserdiscs. I try to relegate this to just my all-time favorite movies and some random stuff I find in a while, like Strong Kids, Safe Kids. Like, what is that? Totally 1980s. I managed to get the Star Wars films, which was very cool. Speed, which I finally got a Blu-ray release of recently. I only had that movie on Laserdisc for way longer than I should have, but now I do own the film on Blu-ray. Took way too long to upgrade that. Shawshank, gotta own Shawshank on Laserdisc. And then here are the other Hitchcock films that are only available on Laserdisc in the United States, and they have the bootleg DVDs and other DVD releases, but this is like the easiest way to get these movies as a high quality version of the film. I do think MGM did some releases of these movies on DVD, but those are going for higher prices than these Laserdiscs. And these Laserdiscs are Criterion, so it's, to me, I have a Laserdisc player, I might as well get the Laserdisc versions. I'm now doing a podcast called Film Shocks with Hitchcock, so I will be watching every single Hitchcock movie eventually. And so those Laserdiscs will come in handy once we get to that point. Oh, it's pretty... I just have a lot of random things. This movie was filmed in our area in Minnesota, so that's why I have that on Laserdisc. And again, I try to just stick to some of my all-time favorite movies. Got this cool Criterion edition of Ghostbusters, Clear and Present Danger, E.T., Batman. Such a cool cover. Back to the Future, and of course the widescreen letterbox edition of Back to the Future. Still lack a CED player, but eventually I will hope to get one. This is the only complete CED that I have, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then I have 2001: A Space Odyssey, but this is only part 2, so if anyone knows if there's a part 1 out there I can buy, let me know. And then there's this Donald Cartoon Classics CED, which I got for free, but there's a reason it was free. There's no disc inside. It's just a plastic case. You'd wonder how the hell did someone get a disc out of these, because they're kind of meant to be sealed and you're not supposed to ever let the disc escape. But apparently, for whatever reason, someone decided to open up that Donald and take out the disc forever. As we go through, I have all the Tim Burton films. That is every single Tim Burton film ever released until he releases a new one. It'd be really cool if he made a proper Batman 3 with Michael Keaton. That's my thought at the moment. I have a lot of Robert Zemeckis films here. I Want to Hold Your Hand, Used Cars, Romancing the Stone, the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Castaway, Polar Express, Christmas Carol, Flight and Walk. I do not have every single Robert Zemeckis film, but I am growing that collection. Here's every single Christopher Nolan film. Tenet I did buy for Black Friday, so that is up on the top shelf for future videos. And then I have a bunch of different Batman things, like everything Batman. And there's even more Batman up here with these big graphic novel versions of the film where they released the movie on Blu-ray, but you got the graphic novel with it as well, and they're hardcover. But man, it's hard to like find a spot for those on a shelf. And yeah, I have the television shows, Batman Beyond, all the different animated films that have come out the last few years, and I have more on the way, and I'm still trying to get some of the animated shows like The Adventures of Batman from the 60s, The New Adventures of Batman, the Batman animated show, I believe that went from 2004 to 2008, is now getting a Blu-ray release through Archive, the Warner Archive. So there's another Blu-ray set I'll be buying. Pretty much everything Batman, including this VHS film about Batman going from the comics to screen that was released around the time the Tim Burton movie came out, which has what I think is the funniest looking cover ever. Just look at that. What happened to him, man? And then I have some additional DC stuff here, but I do not have everything, but I do have everything from the DCEU. I do own the Suicide Squad, which again, I have on the upper shelf for future videos. As we go down one lower, I'm going to have to move this thing right here, which I know this is confusing, but this used to be my entertainment system that sat upstairs, but now it's all down here to hook up to that television there. I have a bunch of Kevin Smith movies, which unfortunately a lot of them go out of print for the Blu-ray releases, so I don't have every single Kevin Smith movie on Blu-ray, but I do have Dogma, which is by far the toughest one to get, so I'm happy to own that. And I have like the Evening with Kevin Smith DVDs. Big Kevin Smith fan. I hope eventually they do something with the rights from the Weinsteins as far as finding a way to get the movies. It would be nice if actually Kevin Smith could have the rights to his own movies to just do Blu-ray releases for. And I have these Martin Scorsese films, including the Scorsese Shorts collection from Criterion, his first feature-length film ever made, Who's That Knocking at My Door, on DVD only for some reason. Then Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, King of Comedy, The Color of Money, Goodfellas, which this is the good version of Goodfellas that's available on Blu-ray. This is the 25th anniversary set. And then I have Casino, Hugo, and The Wolf of Wall Street. And then we go from there, we have all these Marvel movies. Everything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe I ordered in release order because I like watching them in release order. And now we move on to the Spider-Man movies, which I put next to the MCU movies. If anyone's seen No Way Home, you now know why I would do that. There's Venom, which is part of the Spider-Man series, I guess, in a way. Which I guess was also confirmed to be all part of a multiverse anyway. And then we have the X-Men films, the prequels, the Wolverine films, Deadpool, all versions of Deadpool, including Once Upon a Deadpool. And then New Mutants, the last of the X-Men films before Disney put a halt to all X-Men from the 20th Century Fox series. And then from there we go in order of release on every single one-off, like the Captain America serial, the television show, which The Incredible Hulk's going to be getting a Blu-ray release of the television series, so I will be watching out for that. Doctor Strange pilot from the 70s, the Captain America movies from the 70s, Howard the Duck, Captain America from the 90s, The Punisher from the 80s. This is just the documentary on the Fantastic Four film from 1994 that was never released. There is no release of it, so this is the only way you can really own the film on Blu-ray, I guess, because there are clips of the movie used in it. And then, you know, the Blade films, Daredevil, Hulk, Punisher, Elektra, Fantastic Four, Ghost Rider movies, the other Punisher movie, and Four Stick, which who knows, with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, all of these movies might become canon. You're wondering down here, so I have all these VHS tapes, and they line the bottom of the shelves. That was done because I used to have this entire shelf here filled with VHS tapes, but it just wasn't working for size anymore. I liked holding on to these VHS tapes for sentimental reasons, and in some cases they're the only way to see some of the films in a certain version of the movie or with certain edits, and even with as I've said before, this is the only way to see the movies in pan and scan anymore. Now, pan and scan is pretty pointless, but looking back on it, it's pretty interesting to look at these films and see how they decided to do some of the pan and scanning on the movies. So I hold on to them for that reason, but I have wrestled with the idea of possibly converting these all to digital, just for, keepsake reasons, just for, to keep a catalog of them. But holding on to them in general just isn't working anymore for space. I don't really have a reason to hold on to these VHS tapes. And these are the ones that I've already upgraded to either DVD or Blu-ray. And I have even more stashed back here in the shelves down there. And I've said before, I'll hold on to VHS tapes, but I will not hold on to DVDs after I convert it to Blu-ray. But even then, I don't know about holding on to these VHS tapes any longer. Even these Disney ones, which I love collecting those. I love having all the different random editions, especially like there's this imported version of Alice in Wonderland. It's really cool to have these, but as far as being, just for space reasons, it's starting to not really make sense. And as I start to convert almost all my other VHS tapes to Blu-ray or DVD, eventually I just won't have any VHS tapes besides the really obscure ones that are only available on VHS. Everything else will be on Blu-ray or DVD. So in the future, I might have to get rid of all these. And then here is just a random bunch of DVDs that I own of movies that have specific special features on them that are only on those DVDs, and movies that I own for just sentimental reasons. Like, I would not get rid of my Hot Rod DVD. It's my favorite movie of all time. Even when I got the Blu-ray of the film, I didn't really want to give up the DVD because this was the first way I experienced the film. In fact, that is the Blockbuster version of the movie that we purchased directly from Blockbuster. And some other movies where, like, for instance, Tropic Thunder, this is the only way to watch the theatrical version of the film. I took the DVD out of here, put it in my Blu-ray case. I have all these Star Wars DVDs, which for a while were the only way to watch the 2004 version of the movies, but these are the full screen versions. These are the ones that I grew up with as a kid, which full screen is garbage. Like, I can't believe that was the thing they did with DVDs. I now own the widescreen versions, but I kept the full screen DVDs for sentimental reasons. And then I have these Spider-Man DVDs, which have unique special features. This Punisher DVD, which is the only way to watch the extended cut. And then Monster Squad, which I do have on Blu-ray, but I did not get the Lionsgate Blu-ray of the 20th anniversary set. So the special features, which were on the Blu-ray version of this set, that Blu-ray goes for very expensive, but I already had the DVD, luckily, and the DVD has the same special features, so I keep this for the special features, and that's it. And same with the Lord of the Rings and the Lilo and Stitch set, which I don't know why a lot of those special features were not put on the Blu-rays and such. But yeah, over here we do just have a general animation section. I have every single Disney movie from the Disney Animation Studios that's ever been released on Blu-ray, including Make Mine Music and Melody Time, which finally hit Blu-ray after so many years. I worked on this collection for 10 years. I started collecting them in 2011, and in 2021 they finally released Make Mine Music and Melody Time. So now I own every single Disney Animation Studios Blu-ray, except for Encanto. I do need to get Encanto whenever it's released. Same thing can be said for Pixar films. In fact, I go as far as owning all the short film collections, the Cars tunes, even the Buzz Lightyear pilot episode, which is only available on DVD. And then some of the Disney animated sequels, which I don't have every Disney animated sequel as of yet. Most of them were released on Blu-ray, but there's some exceptions. And I do own Luca, it's up on my higher shelf for future videos. And then I do have every single Sony Animation Studios film. I do have Mitchells and the Machines, but that's upstairs. I was watching it recently, and I wish every one of these were released on Blu-ray, but for some reason they skipped out on Surf's Up 2. I don't get why. And I have reviewed every one of these movies on YouTube. And I am now working my way through the Blue Sky films. I have almost every Blue Sky film. I just need to get the Rio films, and I think there's a couple other things. And then here's this cool Bugs Bunny box set with a Bugs Bunny pop inside. for a Blu-ray release they did for his 80th anniversary, which can actually be found. I guess maybe I put it with the Looney Tunes itself. Yeah. And these Looney Tunes sets, by the way, that was quite a way to... That was pretty tough to get all of these. This one especially. Looney Tunes Volume 2 was specifically out of print, and I had to get a import of the movie, but luckily it had all the same stuff, and it was region-free. Here's nearly every single DreamWorks movie. I did recently get caught up on all of those movies as well, except for Abominable. I do have a lot of the recent releases that were done from some Black Friday deals. I keep saying there's this upper shelf I have. I have a lot of movies that go stuffed up there for future Monday movie pickups, but recently I was taking so long to do this video that it's gotten out of hand, and there's like way too much up there. I'm like way behind on doing a new episode of Monday Movie Pickups, so those will be coming shortly enough. And then I go through, and this is all animation stuff. I recently picked through all the animation stuff that was in my shelves, so possibly as we go through I may find some more stuff that's animation that I didn't get moved over here. But I like keeping all my animation together. I don't know, there's just nights where I'm in the mood for animation, not for something live action, and I like to group it all together. And as a big animation fan, I think I like to show off what I own for animation. A lot of it's pretty random. I do have all these Ronald McDonald tapes. I would love to do a review of those someday. And then a bunch of Winnie the Pooh stuff there. And all these Little Mermaid animated series VHS tapes, which, if you look at Ariel's face on that one, I don't know what happened to her, but something went wrong. And this really cool, this is public domain animation films that were released on this giant set, which I forget what company did this. I don't know. What is that? 3G Home Video? There you go. Some random stuff. So this is like my very cheap, but it does work, virtual reality headset. It works well for YouTube videos. Doesn't work well if you want to play a game, though. There is my VHS rewinder. Is that what? Yeah, rewinder, I guess. That would be the term. And then up here, I do have a Betamax tape, my only commercial Betamax tape of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then there's also a CED of Back to the Future. A CED, I meant video CD. And then, last but not least, we go through the main part of the show, which we'll have to move Han for. And as you can see, like up here, there's just random stuff. Like we have taped up here wood flooring that was used for upstairs, and then just wires and everything. I'd like to actually maybe make a floating ceiling right here. Have a closet there that's still unfinished, but it has a lot of filmmaking equipment and video game stuff. And then we have Click guarding it at the moment. But yeah, as we begin, everything goes in order by number. I start out with, actually, I should say this should maybe go first, because this is 007, so that's why that goes there, I guess. And then everything's numbers, so if I have like multiple movie collections, like 10 movie sets, 12 movie sets, 50 movie sets, put them all here. 4 movie collections, which this is the only version I have that has, like, this is the only way I've owned King Kong, is in this 4 movie collection. The romantic comedy collections. And then from there, we go on. Like I said, I still have some VHS tapes in here, but I hope to convert them all eventually. There's cases where I'll break the rules, so for instance here, these are just Abbott and Costello films. They're not in order of the actual titles. This is Africa Screams, which was done, that's a pretty pricey Blu-ray, but it was actually done through Classic Films, or is it Classic Flicks? Yeah, Classic Flicks did a Blu-ray release of this. They restored the film on their own, and they're also doing the same now with Abbott and Costello's Jack and the Beanstalk, because those movies are in the public domain. So finally, those movies were released on Blu-ray. But as a lot of people have said about this movie, is it really something that's necessary to hit Blu-ray? I don't know, but I like to have all the Abbott and Costello films, you know? ABCs of Death, I did a review of that. Air Bud, I did a review of that as well. I don't have every Air Bud film. Those are kind of hard to hunt down. I wish there was just an easy, complete collection of all of them. And then I found out after the fact, after doing the review, there's actually a Mill Creek release of the Blu-ray of Air Bud, which Disney no longer has the rights to Air Bud. Airheads, which if you look for that movie on Blu-ray, it is expensive, crazy expensive. And then I have these giant box sets of 200 films, which are excellent. And I'm doing a review show of these. It's been on halt for a while, but I plan to get back to it very soon. Alien films. I have All About Eve here, which if you'd noticed, I also have the Criterion edition of this movie, but there's some special features on there that are not on the Criterion set, so that's why in some cases I do own 2 copies of the same film. This Anchorman set's like the coolest set ever because it has every single cut of the movie on one set, and it's a steelbook. I did do a review of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie online, and I owned this specific one here, this DVD set, because there was a special feature on here that was not available online for the longest time, but now it is, so there's really no reason to have the DVD at this point. But I am a fan, so whatever. Yeah, and then there's VHSs of really weird stuff out there that it's only available on VHS. I have watched the Argon Quest. It's something. Baby Driver, my favorite movie that year. Here's another Back to the Future set. This is the 35th anniversary set. Or no, the 30th anniversary set, because the 35th anniversary set's over there with the Zemeckis stuff. Which, yes, there were different special features on the 35th anniversary set versus the 30th. I hate that. Banana Splits, I did a review of this online. Waiting for Santa, also did a review of that. All of these different Barney movies I have done reviews of. But there's a few I have here that I have not gotten to yet, and I will be doing in the future. And here's a DVD set I made on my own of different short films. I made a couple of these, and I would throw them into thrift stores, and I would see if anyone would buy them. And I don't know, I went back to the stores, they were all gone, but who knows, maybe the thrift store itself went through and took them all out. I don't know. Big Bird in Japan, that was a movie we watched as kids, and thought it was just ridiculous. Yeah, Boy Meets World. I had a reason to... By the way, this is out of order. Season 1 should go here. And I was getting those on DVD for a while because I wanted to watch all the episodes, but now they're all available on Disney+. So, as you'll notice, I don't do much for collecting TV because, for the most part, if it's available for streaming, I really don't want to collect all the sets. I find it kind of to be a hassle to watch television via DVDs because you got to put in a new one and everything. It's not the same with movies, because with movies you're usually just watching, one movie, but with television it's like you're usually watching episode after episode, and if you have to take a DVD out, put the next one in as you keep going, I don't know, it takes you out of the television show for a moment. It takes you out of your binging. Here are some DVDs I got for free from a company, which was pretty neat. Probably the millionth version of Van Helsing that's out there. Cabinet, Dr. Caligari, Candyman. There's a review of that film coming up soon. Cat and the Canary, The Cat from Outer Space. Catch and Release, the one time Kevin Smith was acting in the film and he had nothing to do with directing it or writing it. Christmas Vacation. I've never watched the second one. Someone gave that to me as a joke gift, but I have yet to watch it. And I should be getting the Vacation complete set eventually. Chronicles of Narnia, I have reviewed all those movies online. And then we go down here. Chucky set, bunch of cinema snob stuff from when I was a fan. Don't watch it really as much anymore, but have held on to some of the DVDs. A Citizen Kane set from Warner Brothers for the 70th anniversary of the film, but now I own the Criterion Blu-ray. City of Ember, kind of underrated young adult film, young adult book based movie, I guess. I did a review of that online. And here's the other free DVD I got from that company that also gave me the Van Helsing one. Claw! Yeah. Just random. Like, it's crazy to think of, like, how many movies actually exist. Cool Cat. I did do a review of Cool Cat online. And, no, I believe, if I have to look up his name, Derek Savage has not come after me yet for doing those reviews. The Conjuring movies. I really shouldn't own this. I'm surprised Daddy Daycare doesn't have a Blu-ray release yet. I wouldn't be shocked if it now does have a Blu-ray release, but yeah, it was weird that I'm shocked that the sequel got one, but the first one didn't, even though they're all awful. I do have Dawn of the Dead. This is the Umbrella version of the film, which this has such a crazy rights issue because the guy who owns the rights pretty much refuses to. He charges such an incredibly high amount for the rights because he did a 3D conversion that no one asked for years ago, made no money from it, and now he's trying to recoup that loss by charging crazy fees to release the movie on Blu-ray. So there's multiple editions out there, but they're all out of print and all expensive. Day the Earth Stood Still. This is the 2008 film, but it also has the 1951 film as a bonus disc. But it doesn't have any of the bonus features, so that's why I hold on to this DVD here. I do own Days of Thunder over here as well, even though I own the Paramount Presents version of the film. There'll be a couple re-releases done through Paramount Presents where I already own the movie, but I will be upgrading on Dementia 13. I did a review of this movie online, but I have not watched the director's cut yet. It's crazy to think that all these years later, Francis Ford Coppola returned to that movie. I do want to get Dirty Work on Blu-ray. Rest in peace to both Norm Macdonald and rest in peace to Bob Saget, who directed the film. Crazy Donnie Darko set from Arrow Video. Super happy to own that. The Dracula films released through Shout Factory and some through Warner Archive. All the Hammer Dracula films. Drunken Master 2. That was a pretty recent release from Warner Archive. And this Ed Wood box set. I would love for them to do a cleaned up version of those movies on Blu-ray. Some of these I might not have too much to say about. I mean, you can look at what I own and go from there. Makes me wonder if there's going to be another Fast and Furious box set once all the movies are released, and then there'll be some like extra disc on it, so then I'll have to get that as well, and who knows? I mean, F9 wasn't that great, but I want Flaming Star. I do have a review of this film online. Flight of the Navigator. This was a case where I actually had to upgrade the Blu-ray because they did a new Blu-ray release that had even more special features on it, crazy enough. And it's still not done by Disney. Disney doesn't have the rights to that film outside of the US, so Flight of the Navigator gets some really cool releases in different countries. And then in the US, it finally hit Blu-ray as a Disney Movie Club exclusive, but with no special features. All the Friday the 13th films, which I already owned this out-of-print box set. I got this a couple years ago before it was out of print, and then Shout Factory did their own. So, yeah, a lot of Friday the 13th, but I am a big fan. Which, I wonder where Ghostbusters went. I don't know how this happened, but Ghostbusters is literally right here. I do not understand. There you go. And then the Godzilla movies. All of them, I do own every single Godzilla movie now. Goodfellas, here's that other Goodfellas 20th anniversary set, which is not as good as the 25th anniversary set they released, so it has had a random bunch of different releases in the short time Blu-ray has released in the life of that movie. The Hangover trilogy. I do have to give these a watch again someday, see if they really hold up like at all. High School Musical, which to this day I'll still say the third one is actually really, really good. The Hobbit, which of course there were two different versions, the extended cuts and the original releases of the film, but all different special features. Hit and Run, Dax Shepard's film, which I did do a review of. Horror Classics Volume 1, which is exactly what ended up becoming just Volume 1. There was never another volume of these. The rest of these movies basically were released on Warner Archive as individual releases. So Hot Rod, and then the HD DVD, the only HD DVD I own because I never got into it and I don't have a player for it. These are very cheap. There's really no value to these at all, but since this is my favorite movie, I figured I'd own at least one of them. How the West Was Won. I own this also on a 3-film collection with other Western movies, but this is the only one that comes with the Cinerama version of the film, the second disc. Some iCarly seasons from my wife, which I'm not that big of a fan of iCarly anymore. I used to like it a little bit as it started airing back in 2009, but I recently watched Victorious for the first time, and if anything, that is the superior show. In Search of Darkness, Glorious Bastards, Inspector Gadget. And I'm done with that wall. Continue up here, which is where I usually stash the new Blu-rays of the week up there. But then I also have other movies. Invisible Man TV series from the 50s, Came from Outer Space. Jack Ryan films. Now there's the Jack Ryan TV series. This is not meant to be here. This is just here to make sure this box doesn't fall. So this is an empty box of the Back to the Future 35th anniversary set, which usually sits up there with the 30th anniversary box set, which lights up. So way too many sets. The Jaws films, Jazz Singer, a John Wayne collection of films, Karate Kid collection, which does have the 4th film. The Kid in Aladdin's Palace, a lot of people don't even know that movie exists, but that is in fact a sequel to The Kid in King Arthur's Court. Bunch of King Kong movies. King Kung Fu, King's Man, Leonard 6. And then these are all new movies I own, so I gotta get those into the shelves eventually. The Lethal Weapon collection, Liar Liar, Little Monsters, and Lord of the Rings, which of course I have to own theatrical cuts and the extended cuts. Some of these are just all over the place. Mom and Pa Kettle movies. I'm waiting for Shout Factory to do a Blu-ray release of all those. Man of the Year, which I only have a DVD of, and I did a review of the film, but now it is available on Blu-ray, so I'll have to upgrade that eventually. Marx Brothers, which is another case where I just put Marx Brothers in the M's and then I just put Night at the Opera next to it because it's Marx Brothers, might as well keep it all together. Make it easier. Meteor Man, I have a lot of memories of that as a kid. Mission Impossible films, which I have. It's impossible to get all the special features of these movies. I had to buy them like all individually to get the 2-disc editions of each movie, and some of these were like exclusive to their specific stores they were sold at, and some of them don't even have packaging to show that it's a like extra special edition. So like this was a Target exclusive, but there's nothing on it that would tell you that. Same with this version. This is like, I believe, the Best Buy edition. But there's an extra disc on these, but you wouldn't know that otherwise because there's not really anything on the packaging to tell you that. So, and if you buy these movies as a giant collection, they don't have all the extra discs. It's pretty stupid. Modern Family, which I don't have every season of, but I got a lot of them, and I actually did keep up with that series by watching them on DVD, but now they're available on Hulu, so it makes DVDs kind of pointless. Which I know there's people out there who are like, but all your movies are pointless because they're all available through streaming. Well, I tell you, it's different with movies, okay? It's different with movies. I'm gonna regret grabbing this with one hand. Okay. I like to keep these paperbacks as well, if you can't tell. My Name is Earl, which I had all these seasons from when I was younger. Still love that show. Find it to be incredibly underrated. I also mentioned, you might see some of the JFK stuff in here, but I just showed you a box set or a 3-film collection of Oliver Stone movies, and JFK is only released on the director's cut Blu-ray. It was released on that collection, but there's a giant JFK box set that's now out of print, so that's like pretty much the easiest way to get that film, because some of the other sets are out of print as well. And then with the box set, all the discs that came with that box set you can actually buy individually. Some of them were just PBS documentaries, so I did buy all those individually. In fact, as you can see up here, like, there's one of them, the JFK Remembered 50 Years Later, John F. Kennedy, Years of Lightning, Day of Drums. Those are documentaries that you can buy separately for much cheaper than buying it in that JFK box set. So all those discs are available by other means than getting the expensive JFK box set. Planet of the Apes, that was one of my favorite watch-throughs I've ever done. I'd love to do that again. I did that in preparation for War of the Planet of the Apes. Here's another PT-109. This was the movie that was about JFK. That was made, I believe, before he... Actually, I don't remember the whole history of this movie, but I know it's based on an event that JFK was involved in when he was in the war, and this movie was also included in the JFK box set, but again, you can buy it separately. Rad. Finally released this on Blu-ray after so many years. Or released it at all. I mean, it only had a VHS release for many, many years. Roseanne, Ray Harryhausen, which I do have almost every Ray Harryhausen film. A lot of them are in this set, but I do own a bunch of the other individual films as well. Reanimator, I gotta get the sequel still. Recount, I remember really liking this movie the first time I watched it, so I'll probably have to rewatch it pretty soon. This Richard Pryor set, which I did a review of See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I will have to give Stir Crazy a watch because I've never seen it, actually. I do remember watching The Toy as a kid with one of my friends who was obsessed with it, but I think it was just because I believe there's boobs in that movie, if I remember. The Return of the Living Dead series. Unfortunately, I did not get the Return of the Living Dead Shout Factory edition, so that's really unfortunate. It's out of print now, very pricey. I at least got the third film, which... or the second film. You know, the best ones, of course. I still gotta get the RoboCop movies from Shout Factory as well, along with the sequels. Some different SNL sets. SNL was a difficult thing for years where there wasn't really availability for those old episodes anywhere, but now with Peacock, every single episode ever is available to stream. And the only thing that I don't think is streamable are some of the music performances, but that's fine. I'm not much for watching the musical performances anyway. Shockingly enough. And there's these Sherlock Holmes movies, all the ones that starred Basil Rathbone. It's kind of hard to find all the Sherlock Holmes stuff because there's a lot of one-off movies that were made, and then some were made with a different actor. But they recently released this box set here, which just happens to be sitting up here. But yeah, different movies right here that were released on Blu-ray. And in pretty shockingly good condition as well. But that is for a later video. Oh, The Social Network. Basically, like, David Fincher releases movies of his own on Blu-ray, but he does, like, Criterion packaging and special releases of his films before Criterion gets them, basically. However, I wish they would re-release Gone Girl with more than just the one special feature it had, which was a commentary, because, my God, how can that movie just have no special features? Here's the special effects collection, which I think came out around the same time this horror classics collection came out, because it got very similar packaging. But this is the best way to get films like Son of Kong, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, Mighty Joe Young, and all of them have been released individually on Blu-ray as of now. This is a Stanley Kubrick box set. This is still pretty much the best way to get all his films. And when I bought that box set, it was very pricey in the US, but I found a used copy from a different country that was region free, much cheaper. And Now here's something kind of interesting. So this is Star is Born from the 50s, and then here's the 2018 movie. Now, Warner Brothers also owns the rights and did a Warner Archive release of the 1976 version of A Star is Born. The first one from the 30s is actually in the public domain, so anybody can release it. In fact, Kino did release it. Kino released it, I believe, with no special features, if I can remember. I've been holding off buying those two, but now Warner Archive, it's been leaked that they will be releasing a version of A Star is Born on Blu-ray, the 30s version. So even though it's in the public domain, they must have figured, well, we've already released all the other Star is Born movies because we own the rights. We might as well release the first one too. So all four of them can be from Warner Brothers. And I heard this new release is going to actually have special features. So, pretty cool. Star Trek films, which actually there's been some updates to this now. There is The Wrath of Khan. There's a different edit of the film now, I believe. So I will need to watch out to get that Blu-ray. And I think there's also a different version of the first film out there now with different special effects, I believe. I can't remember exactly what I read about it, but yeah, they have a bunch of different Blu-rays of these now. Some of them might be only on 4K, but I will have a 4K player eventually, so it might be worth buying them. And then there's, of course, the J.J. Abrams films here. And then we get into Star Wars. There's all kinds of different Star Wars stuff. There's the 2011 Blu-rays. There's the 2004 DVDs. There's the ones that were done by Disney. I actually have these as much as I can in order of its continuity. I have the widescreen special edition releases from 1997. This is the only way you can watch the 1997 versions in widescreen unless you own the Laserdisc. So I have the widescreen VHSs for now. Here's a random Star Wars Droids episode on a VHS. Here's the Ewok Adventures, the Star Wars Force Awakens, and then the 3D release that they did only a couple months later that had a commentary on it. That wasn't on the first release. Pretty annoying. The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, these are all... this one and these two are the Target editions that had some bonus discs on there, like exclusive bonus discs, as well as the Rogue One that had the bonus disc from Target. So pretty confusing. There's From Star Wars The Jedi, which has never been released on DVD, but there's a VHS of it. It's crazy to think that all these releases, there's never been a re-release of From Star Wars The Jedi, because it is an equally a great documentary. But then here's the story of Star Wars, which is just a lame, not really even documentary. It's more just telling the story of Star Wars, done by C-3PO. Very dumb. And then this is the cool bonus disc from when the films were released in 2004, which has Empire of Dreams, which was the only way you could watch it for years. Except now they actually released Empire of Dreams in an HD version on Disney+. So very cool, because they tried to fit that nearly 3-hour documentary on a DVD, and the quality was pretty rough for modern TVs, but now we have that HD version. Very cool. The Stranger, very awesome Orson Welles movie. Stranger Things on Blu-ray, but I'm a big fan of the series, and I love this packaging that they did of like old school VHSs, so I do have these. They haven't done one for the third movie, and I don't know if there's any plans to. The Swan Princess, which I did the first movie on YouTube, and there's the sequels, and I hear there's numerous other sequels. Also, Super Mario Brothers, there is a Blu-ray release of this movie in a different country, but it's unfortunately region-locked, so I wouldn't be able to watch it on one of my American Blu-ray players, which, it sucks. I really wish they would release this movie on Blu-ray, but I'm going to guess it's because of Disney, because Disney owns the rights to this movie in the US. So that's probably why there's been a hold-up on a Blu-ray release. Tammy and the T-Rex, which I saw this in a theater for April Fools, and it's one of the craziest movies I've ever seen. Very crazy, very nuts. It's awesome that I got a Blu-ray release. Here's every season of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as the Coming Out of Their Shells tour VHS, and the other movies that were released in theaters. Terminator films. Do I not own the new one yet? That's insane. I thought I bought the new one. I'll have to double check that, but that's pretty ridiculous. Even though the new one, I don't know, it wasn't amazing, and it seemed like a lot of people agreed. It wasn't like a step up from the previous 3 movies, which all were pretty bleh. Genesis especially was just like a big disappointment for what it could have been. And I think the newest one Dark Fate. Is that what it was called? I think it just disappointed people because it's, even for how much that movie was hyped and James Cameron was attached and Tim Miller was directing, it was still just like a meh kind of movie. And I think people are starting to finally realize maybe they just cannot top Terminator 2. It's just impossible. There's another long ongoing series that has continuously tried to top the first movie but has never been able to. Actually, that's a lie. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films are another franchise that just goes all over the place, like meh, ugh, I don't know. But the first one, very good, and the second one's actually pretty cool. The second one's like didn't try to be better than the first movie. The Thing from Another World, This Is 40, This Is Spinal Tap, a bunch of Three Stooges DVDs, which that has almost everything they've ever done. I don't know if there's a Blu-ray release for those on the horizon. Tom and Jerry, I did a review of this movie online. I guess this doesn't technically go with the animation stuff, but I guess if I put the Warner animation group stuff together, then I'll go over to the animation shelf. The Toxic Avenger movies. Trading Places, which they also have a Paramount Presents version of this movie now. Great movie. Transformers, all the Transformers. A lot of these have to be bought individually because they also have bonus discs that aren't available on the sets if you buy all the movies just together on one Blu-ray set, which is the same case that Paramount also owns Mission Impossible, so I guess Paramount just tends to do that. Troll 2, I did a review of that movie online. True Romance is awesome, crazy good movie. The Truman Show is very good as well. The Twilight series is there, which I went through those movies with my wife on YouTube. All the Universal horror set movies. I thought I got the 6th one, but I'll have to double check. I thought I purchased that. Going through some of these movies, I'm starting to realize there's certain things that I'm pretty sure I bought, but I'm not seeing in here. Like I said, I thought I bought Dark Fate, and then I'm thinking also I bought the 6 Universal Horror Collection volume, and now I'm starting to wonder where all these movies going. You know what? Okay, so this is everything from the last couple months that I have not done a Monday movie pickup. There is so much to catch up on. So I'm like, screw it. Episode 100. I think I'm just gonna do it right now. I'm gonna get through it and just tell you all about the different things I own. So like, here is everything I got during Black Friday shopping, which, there you go. There's Dark Fate right there. I knew I bought the movie, so that's how long it's been. I'm literally forgetting. I remembered I bought it, but I was like, why isn't it on the shelf? But I didn't realize that's literally how long stuff has been sitting up there waiting for the next Monday movie pickup. Trolls World Tour, Crude's A New Age, Spirit, Untamed, and Boss Baby, which these are all movies that are DreamWorks. These are all the new stuff. And I just need to get Abominable, and I have every single DreamWorks movie. Godzilla vs. Kong, saw it in theaters. Was probably best to watch in theaters. I own it because I own every Godzilla and Kong movie. That's really all I can say about that movie. Dark Fate, as I was talking about earlier, was still a disappointment, but finishing off the Terminator collection. Batman, A Long Halloween Part 1 and Part 2. So I'll have to give those a watch. Look very well done, excellent. I'm not sure if they're going to do a complete collection of these later that will add special features similar to what they did of, what was the name of that series? The Dark Knight Returns. 1917 Sam Mendes film. I did not own it on Blu-ray as of yet. I don't know why, but I finally have it. Wonder Woman 1984, just to finish off the DCEU collection. And I also do have Suicide Squad somewhere, but oh yeah, it's up here. There's even more up here. I keep forgetting. It's Suicide Squad. We have Tenet to finish off the Christopher Nolan series, which this did get a 2-disc release, but I don't know if I want to revisit that film anytime soon. Maybe some of the special features, but God, that movie was something else. F9, the newest Fantastic Four, the newest Fast and Furious movie, which I have to check. I'm gotta make sure that the director's cut's not just on the digital version of this film like they did with the 8th one, because I hate when they do that. Quiet Place Part 2, which was one of my favorite movies of 2021, and had to get the Blu-ray of it. Then we move on over here. I did get the Scooby-Doo Complete Series Blu-ray. I had the DVD of the first 2 seasons previously. The first 2, because there's also the elusive 3rd season, which isn't really an official 3rd season, but those episodes are available on this set. And I bought this because I was fearing it would go out of print, but recently they released a version that doesn't have this crazy packaging with the house, with this monster house here. And then some different animation stuff. I did buy the Scooby-Doo movies, which this has more episodes when compared to the DVD they did of these of this series a couple years ago, but it still isn't absolutely every episode from the series just due to some rights issues. But still, it's cool that they were able to get some of the episodes back that they didn't originally release, and maybe someday there'll be an even newer set that has literally everything. And then we have the Adventures of Batman. As I said earlier, I'm still getting some Batman animated stuff. These are like the first episodes they ever did of Batman as an animated character. The Nutcracker Prince, which my wife begged me to buy this movie on DVD. It was pretty tough to find. It's a pretty ridiculous animated movies from good times, but it was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, if that's fair enough. And like I said, I did get the Universal Horror Collection. This is the final volume, and with this, every single film, at least the ones that are listed on Wikipedia's page of Universal Horror movies, Shout Factory has now released them all on these sets, and then the Universal Monster sets, of course, comes from Universal. And here is the John Carpenter movies I was speaking about earlier. There was a sale done by Shout Factory of John Carpenter movies for his birthday, so I tried to buy up as many as I could of films that I just haven't bought yet. And as of now, I have nearly everything from Shout Factory, and there's a few other things. His later movies, his more recent movies that are not released by Shout Factory. I don't know if Shout Factory plans to do the rest of them at any point, but since all those movies are pretty cheap online, if they're not from Shout Factory, I might as well buy them now anyway. And then continuing with the trend of discussing directors. So I'll be using all these for the Film Shocks with Hitchcock podcast. This is the most recent Hitchcock film released on Blu-ray, Stage Fright, which is done by the Warner Archive. For years it was only on a DVD, and it gives me hope that Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the final Warner Brothers movie of Hitchcock's that Warner Brothers owns, I'm hoping it will see a Blu-ray release soon enough. Here's Spellbound. This is an out-of-print MGM release. The other 2 that were part of this release, which is Rebecca and Notorious, have been released by the Criterion Collection. I've been waiting for Criterion to possibly be doing Spellbound as well. Still hasn't happened, so I got tired of it. Since I'm doing this podcast, I figured I'll buy the movie on Blu-ray. Luckily, it wasn't too expensive, but still pricier than what it should be, given that, it's just a typical MGM release. But it's because it's out of print, and I have no clue if Criterion's going to get it or some other studio is going to do it. Number 17, this is this is one of the newer Kino releases. They announced this a while back, but it never saw the light of day until now for some reason. I don't know what the delay was all about. Blackmail, this is the first sound film of Hitchcock's. Murder, which also contains the German version of this movie, which was shot on the same sets and with the same director, Alfred Hitchcock. Mary. Rich and Strange, this is also a very recent Kino release of a Hitchcock film, which also, like number 17, was held up, even though it was announced years ago. And Under Capricorn. So now I have every single Kino Hitchcock movie on Blu-ray. This podcast is going to turn out great. Here's another Kino Blu-ray, Hunchback of Notre Dame with Lon Chaney. I know you have some Criterion stuff from, this is from the November Criterion sale. That's how far back we're going. But this is the Darjeeling Limited. This is from Wes Anderson. And then I have the other Wes Anderson film here, Bottle Rocket. I have nearly every single Wes Anderson film now. The only one I just need to get is Life Aquatic, which for some reason was never at the Barnes & Noble sale, or at least at my local Barnes & Noble. Here's Uncut Gems. This was first released through Criterion in 2021. Very cool release, very good movie. I'm glad I waited to buy it until now. And then this is the Citizen Kane Blu-ray, which I talked about in the Daily Cinephile. Had to break the disc to get the new disc that doesn't have the contrast problem. So there you go. Big old K, for one of the greatest movies of all time. Schlock. This is a Arrow video release. This is the film that was done by John Landis. Never seen it. I've always wanted to. And then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, which, yeah, I was looking at my Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection. I was thinking I was missing one. It's this one, the fourth one. Robin Hood, 1930s classic. Finally had to buy that on Blu-ray. Look Who's Coming to Dinner. I'm suspecting that a different company is going to be releasing this soon enough, since Sidney Poitier tragically passed away recently. But this is the Twilight Time release. Unfortunately, this movie is pretty tough to get. A lot of the releases have been out of print and go for higher prices on Amazon, but luckily I was able to snag this for pretty low. I got some Best Picture winners here, like From Here to Eternity, American Beauty, Gandhi, and Slumdog Millionaire. So, adding even more to the Best Picture lineup. I have some other movies from the Black Friday sales. Luca, one of my favorite movies of 2021. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, one of the worst movies of 2021. And Shang-Chi. Of course, I have to get these movies to complete my Marvel collection. And then I got some VHS upgrades, like Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, and Pump Up the Volume. Some movies I've been meaning to get for a long time, like Invasion of Body Snatchers, What Lies Beneath. This is a new Blu-ray release, and it's a film from Robert Zemeckis, so adding to the Zemeckis collection. The Stuff. I've been wanting to see this movie for a very long time. Django. A huge influence on Django Unchained, obviously. Day of the Dead from Shout Factory or Scream Factory, and I already own Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, so it's crazy that all these movies are released by so many different companies for Blu-ray releases, but I hear this is a fantastic Blu-ray. And I have even more Best Picture winners, like The French Connection and The Sting. And then, like I said earlier, I do have this Sherlock Holmes box set that has A Study in Scarlet, Silver Blaze, The Triumph of Sherlock Holmes, and Sherlock Holmes Fatal Hour. And all of these movies should be part of that 200 Terror box set. I think some of these are in the public domain, but I have that Mill Creek box set of 200 films that I'm doing on my YouTube channel. And when I heard that there's so many Sherlock Holmes movies on it, I wanted to do them all in like one clean sweep. And now most of these are released on Blu-ray, so I can watch the highest quality version of the films for the reviews. And then, before I get to my Paramount Presents movies, I should also look at another Shout Select release, Farewell My Lovely and The Big Sleep. This is a double pack. And another double pack, Bill and Ted's Most Excellent Collection, which has Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted Go to... Oh my god, Bill and Ted Go to Hell. That's not the title, but Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which I actually find to be the superior film. I think that's the best of the Bill and Ted movies. And I'll add those to the Shout Select series. And then I have all these Paramount Select, or Paramount Presents movies, which I do have number 13 here as well. Like I said, just a random grab bag of different movies, but Vanilla Sky, Nashville, Love Story, Elizabethtown, The Court Jester, Trading Places, man, getting focus, man. The Golden Child, I believe this was the first time this movie was released on Blu-ray. The Haunting, same thing, I believe this is the first time it's been released on Blu-ray. And Airplane, which I already owned on Blu-ray with the sequel, but they released it again, of course. So, finally caught up on everything. Can finally rest and move on to the next Monday movie pickup. See you next time.
Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for supporting me on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive blogs and videos, and for just $7, you can get your own monthly movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.